Institute and Millennium Park, etc. But for our adolescents, we have what we think is something that's kind of unique. We've created apprenticeships for kids to learn different skills. And we call these apprentice opportunities youth labs. So there's a youth lab for film. There's a youth lab for tap dance. There's a youth lab for producing a literary journal. There's a youth lab for knitting, which is really, this one is our newest one. It's really kind of funny. You get the toughest kid that you could imagine. You know, the kid that just scares you to death. Kind of difficult, doesn't say much, big, bit of a loner. And to see that particular child with knitting needles, really trying to make that pot holder, is a wonderful thing. But the fifth lab is our bike lab, in which kids learn how to repair and design bikes. So the idea is, let's appeal to the curiosity of children. Let's use their curiosity with things that make them physically active, as in tap dance. And the key to tap dance, as I have begun to understand, is that you know, kids like to dance and socialize on the dance floor, which is great. But in tap dance, the key is to tap together. And that's a whole other challenge, because you have a good dancer and you have a not so good dancer, and they have to teach each other to dance together. So you get kids coming together who may know each other, but the idea is not to out-tap each other, but to tap with each other. Now, what all these labs do in their own way is to show you how the community addresses mental health needs, because the labs are open to whoever comes in. There is no assessment or screening process. So there might be a kid who has a serious emotional disturbance of what we would call depression, if that child were an adult, or another diagnosis. Well, we don't really decide that that child is excluded from the labs. The idea is that let's engage that child with his or her peers, and then we'll start to see, if anything, we'll start to see what emerges from working in group, in community. So this is our particular approach to addressing mental health needs. The emphasis is not really on the child. The emphasis is on the staff and the organization of the Better Boys Foundation. We want an organization, first and foremost, in which staff withhold their judgment. Right? Why? Because it's important for kids to feel as though they can express who they are, or at least what they're thinking. You don't want kids to carry around the burden of, am I normal or am I abnormal? Am I strange because my family thinks I'm strange, or because I'm not quite sure of my sexual identity or my sexual preference, and I don't want people to think I'm weird. So we're a place in which we really work not to judge who comes in the door, firstly. Secondly, we're a place in which we hopefully instill hope to all the kids that come through our doors. That is to say that if you have no sense of rhythm, you can still join the tap class. If you don't own a bike, you could be a part of the bike apprenticeship. If you've never knitted before, etc. And the idea is that behind hope is the desire for self-expression. How do you express yourself with your hands, with your feet, and with your mind? So we produced our first literary journal. It's called Page 1512. Someone got so excited, they said, you guys ought to have a launch party. So we said, okay, great, we'll just get some pizza and some soda. They said, no, I'm talking about a big-time launch party. You ought to do it on the 95th floor at the Hancock in the signature room and really make it a big deal. So we said, okay, so we did that, and it turned out to be a big deal because all the kids in the lit lab, and interestingly, the first journal edition was not just for teenagers. The teenagers voted that if the kids in the elementary school age program had something to write about, that would be included. And the theme was secrets. And so for children, and adolescents in particular, secrets is such a big deal. And so we produced this small journal, had it at the launch party at the 95th floor of the Hancock, and what was interesting was that all the parents who really never come and participate all came to this launch party. Now maybe because it was in a fancy place, maybe they thought that they might be on CLTV or Channel 5 or something like that. No, there were no cameras, but maybe they were proud enough to see their kids accomplish something that happened outside of school, that they came out to support that. Well, clearly the connection between addressing mental health, improving one's mental health, recovery from mental health illness is contingent upon support within the family. And so in a community like North Wandale, where the question of family is always a question, you want to do things that spark energy, that brings that family together in multiple ways. Hope is what we do as a staff. And then lastly, because I know you guys have lots of questions, so I'll give you time to formulate those questions, but Dr. Ferguson said something very interesting in her presentation. She was talking about state legislators in particular, and talking to them. And I have found in my career that as a body, legislators are the most reactionary group that you could ever find, regardless of their political affiliations. They are so reactionary. And so when there are events that get picked up by the media as being somewhat gruesome or horrific, you get lots of laws that suddenly fly through the state legislature on both sides and get signed off by the government. And those same laws that Dr. Ferguson was talking about that penalize kids take forever, or so it seems to me, to get rescinded or revised, or if they get appealed, the courtroom process of getting things appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court takes years. There is a struggle to ignore the mental health needs of a community, of a neighborhood. And we try to address those. We try not to ignore them. And I'll give you just one example. You recall recently there was I think a 10 or 12-year-old that threw bricks at a woman's house, and then she shot one of the kids. Right? It was an elderly woman, and her way of defending her property was to shoot